A family adopted a puppy from a shelter. The puppy was only 6 months old, untrained, and hyperactive. The family took the puppy to the beach for the first time. The children were playing in the water. Suddenly, the youngest child, 5 years old, got caught in a rip current. The child was drowning. The parents didn't notice, but the puppy did. What the puppy did next would be talked about for years. It started 3 months earlier, on a cold November morning. Sarah Mitchell sat in her car outside a local animal shelter. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the steering wheel. She wasn't nervous about the shelter. She was nervous about what she was about to do. For years, Sarah had wanted a dog. Her husband, Michael, had always said no. Too much work, too much responsibility, too much chaos with 3 kids already. But something had changed. Michael had seen an article about rescue dogs. He'd watched a documentary about the impact of pets on children's development, and slowly, he'd changed his mind. One dog, he'd said that morning, but it has to be calm. It has to be good with kids. No puppies, no problem dogs. Sarah understood. She wasn't looking for trouble. She was looking for a companion, a family member, a friend for her children. She walked into the shelter. The smell hit her first. Not unpleasant, but distinctive. The smell of many animals in one place. The smell of hope and heartbreak mixed together. A volunteer named Marcus greeted her. He was in his 60s with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He'd worked at the shelter for 15 years. He knew every dog. He understood their stories. "I'm looking for a calm dog," Sarah said. "Good with children. Preferably an adult dog. Something settled." Marcus nodded. He'd heard this request 100 times. Most people wanted the same thing. Safety. Predictability. A dog that wouldn't disrupt their carefully organized lives. "I have just the dog," Marcus said. "Come with me." He led Sarah through the shelter, past kennels filled with barking dogs, past dogs that jumped and spun in circles, past dogs that had clearly experienced trauma. And then they reached a quiet corner. In one of the kennels sat a 3-year-old golden retriever named Max. He was beautiful. His coat was perfectly groomed. His eyes were calm. He looked exactly like what Sarah was looking for. "Max is perfect," Sarah said. "He's so calm." Marcus's expression changed slightly. "Max is calm because he's depressed," he said quietly. "His owner died 6 months ago. Max has been here ever since. He's given up. He doesn't play. He doesn't interact. He's just waiting." Sarah felt her heart break, but she also felt relief. Max wasn't what she was looking for. She couldn't handle a depressed dog. She needed something different. They continued walking, and then Marcus stopped in front of another kennel. This one was different. The dog inside was bouncing off the walls. A 6-month-old golden retriever puppy. Yellow coat, endless energy, clearly out of control. "This is Buddy," Marcus said. "He came in 3 weeks ago. His family couldn't handle him. He's too energetic, too playful, too much for most families." Sarah shook her head. "My husband said no puppies." "I know," Marcus said, "but listen to me for a second. Buddy is special. He's hyperactive, yes. He's untrained, yes. But he has something most dogs don't have. He has heart. He has intuition. He has this ability to read people, to understand what they need." Sarah watched Buddy bounce around the kennel. The puppy was clearly exhausting, clearly a handful, clearly not what she'd come for. "Let me take him out," Marcus said. "Let me show you something." Marcus opened the kennel. Buddy exploded out in a blur of energy. He jumped. He spun. He seemed completely out of control. But then something happened. Marcus sat down on the floor, and Buddy immediately stopped jumping. The puppy walked over to Marcus and put his head on the old man's lap. Buddy's tail wagged slowly, gently, as if the puppy understood that Marcus needed comfort. Sarah felt something shift inside her. She saw what Marcus meant. Buddy wasn't just a hyperactive puppy. Buddy was intuitive. Buddy understood emotion. "My husband said no puppies," Sarah repeated. "I know," Marcus said, "but sometimes the dog we need isn't the dog we planned for." Sarah stood there for a long moment. She thought about her children. She thought about her husband's rules. She thought about the calm, perfect Max in the other kennel. And then she thought about something else. She thought about how life rarely goes according to plan. She thought about how the best things in life often come unexpectedly. She thought about how sometimes you have to take a risk. "Can I think about it?" Sarah asked. "Of course," Marcus said, "but don't think too long. Buddy won't be here forever. Someone will adopt him. Someone will see what I see." Sarah left the shelter that day without Buddy, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. She told Michael about the puppy. She showed him pictures. She told him about how Buddy had comforted Marcus. Michael was skeptical. "A puppy? Sarah, we agreed. An adult dog. Something calm." But Sarah persisted. She talked about Buddy's intuition. She talked about how the puppy had understood Marcus's emotions. She talked about how sometimes the best decisions come from the heart, not from a checklist. 3 days later, they went back to the shelter. Michael wanted to see Buddy for himself, and when he did, something happened. Michael sat down on the floor, and Buddy, who had been bouncing around like a maniac, suddenly stopped. The puppy walked over to Michael and put his head on Michael's lap. The puppy's tail wagged slowly, gently, as if Buddy understood that Michael needed to be be convinced. Michael looked at Sarah. Okay, he said, we'll take him. The drive home was chaos. Buddy had never been in a car before. The puppy was terrified. He whimpered. He shook. He tried to climb into Sarah's lap while she was driving, but something remarkable happened. Sarah's youngest daughter, Emma, who was 5 years old, reached back and put her hand on Buddy's head. Emma didn't say anything. She just touched the puppy, and Buddy immediately calmed down. The puppy stopped shaking. The puppy stopped whimpering. The puppy just sat there, his head resting against Emma's hand. Sarah watched this in the rearview mirror. She felt tears in her eyes. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the beauty of the moment. Maybe it was the connection between the 5-year-old girl and the 6-month-old puppy. Maybe it was the feeling that they'd made the right decision. When they arrived home, Buddy was overwhelmed. The house was new. The smells were new. The people were new. The puppy was terrified. He hid under the kitchen table and wouldn't come out. But again, Emma did something remarkable. Emma crawled under the table with Buddy. She didn't try to force the puppy out. She just sat there. She sat in the darkness under the table with a terrified puppy, and slowly, Buddy calmed down. Slowly, the puppy began to trust. Over the next 3 months, Buddy became part of the family. He was still hyperactive. He was still untrained. He still knocked things over and chewed on furniture and had accidents in the house. He was still a handful, but he was also something else. He was intuitive. He seemed to understand when someone was sad. He would go sit with them. He was protective. He would position himself between the children and any perceived threat. He was loyal. He followed Emma everywhere. Michael had worried that Buddy would be too much, but he'd come to love the puppy. Sarah had worried that they'd made a mistake, but she'd come to see that Buddy was exactly what their family needed. The only rule was that Buddy had to stay on a leash when they went out. The puppy was still untrained, still unpredictable, still too energetic to be trusted off leash. 3 months after bringing Buddy home, on a warm February morning, the Mitchell family decided to go to the beach. It was a Saturday. The weather was perfect. The water was calm. It seemed like the ideal day for a family outing. Sarah packed the car, sunscreen, towels, snacks, beach toys. She packed everything they might need. Michael loaded the cooler with drinks and sandwiches. The 3 children, Emma, 5, Jake, 8, and Sophie, 12, were excited. They'd been talking about the beach all week. And then there was Buddy. The puppy was bouncing around, sensing the excitement. Buddy knew something special was happening. The puppy could feel the energy in the house. Should we bring Buddy? Sophie asked. Michael hesitated. I don't know. The beach is chaotic. There are other dogs. There are crowds. Buddy's still untrained. But Buddy loves the water, Emma said. We've been practicing in the pool. This was true. They've been letting Buddy swim in their pool. The puppy loved it. Buddy was a natural swimmer. The puppy seemed to understand water instinctively. Okay, Sarah said, but we keep him on a leash, and we keep a close eye on him. They arrived at the beach around 10 a.m. It was a beautiful day. The sun was bright. The water was sparkling. There were families scattered along the shore, children playing, adults relaxing, lifeguards watching from their towers. The Mitchell family set up their spot. They laid out towels. They applied sunscreen. They got ready for a day of fun. Can we go in the water? Emma asked. In a minute, Sarah said. Let's let the sunscreen dry first. Michael and Sarah sat on the beach, watching the children. Sophie was reading a book. Jake was building a sandcastle. Emma was playing with Buddy in the sand, throwing a tennis ball for the puppy to chase. Everything was perfect. Everything was normal. Everything was exactly what a family day at the beach should be. And then, about 30 minutes later, Jake said, Can we go swimming now? Sure, Michael said, but stay close to shore, and stay where we can see you. Jake and Sophie ran into the water. Emma wanted to go too, but she was smaller. She wanted to stay closer to the shore. Sarah decided to go with Emma. Michael stayed on the beach with Buddy. Sarah and Emma waded into the water. The water was cool, but not cold. The waves were gentle. It was perfect for a 5-year-old. Emma played in the shallow water. She jumped over small waves. She splashed. She laughed. Sarah stood nearby watching, enjoying the moment, enjoying her daughter's joy. And then, something changed. Sarah wasn't sure what. Maybe it was a shift in the current. Maybe it was a sudden drop in the ocean floor. Maybe it was just bad luck. But Emma suddenly went under. Sarah's heart stopped. She'd been watching. She'd been right there. But somehow, Emma had gone under. The water had pulled her down. The current had shifted, and Emma was under the water. Sarah rushed forward. She grabbed for Emma. She found her daughter's arm and pulled. Emma came up, coughing and sputtering. Sarah pulled Emma to her chest. Emma was crying. Emma was terrified. It's okay, Sarah said. It's okay. I've got you. But then, Sarah felt something else. She felt the current pulling at her legs. She felt the water trying to drag her out. She realized what had happened. Emma hadn't just gone under. Emma had gotten caught in a rip current. Sarah tried to move back toward shore, but the current was strong. It was pulling her away from the beach. It was pulling her and Emma away from safety. Sarah looked toward the shore. She looked for Michael. She looked for the lifeguards, but she couldn't see anyone clearly. The sun was in her eyes. The water was splashing. Everything was chaos. And then, Sarah heard something. She heard a bark, a desperate, urgent bark. She heard the sound of something something splashing. She heard the sound of something moving through the water. It was Buddy. Michael had seen what was happening. Michael had seen Sarah and Emma struggling. Michael had seen the rip current pulling them away from shore, and Michael had made a split-second decision. He'd unclipped Buddy's leash. The puppy had run into the water. The untrained, hyperactive, 6-month-old puppy had run into the ocean. And now, Buddy was swimming towards Sarah and Emma. Sarah watched as Buddy swam. The puppy's head was above water. The puppy's eyes were focused. The puppy was swimming directly toward them. "Buddy! Buddy!" Sarah called. The puppy reached them. Buddy was small. Buddy was only 6 months old. Buddy couldn't save them by pulling them, but Buddy did something else. Buddy positioned himself between Sarah and the current. Buddy's body created a break in the water. Buddy's presence gave Sarah something to hold on to. Sarah grabbed Buddy's collar. She used the puppy as an anchor, and with Buddy's help, Sarah was able to angle her body. She was able to fight the current at a diagonal. She was able to move toward shore instead of being pulled out to sea. It took every ounce of Sarah's strength. It took every bit of her determination. It took the presence of a small puppy to give her the leverage she needed. But slowly, Sarah and Emma and Buddy moved toward shore. The lifeguard had seen them now. The lifeguard was running toward the water. Other people on the beach had noticed. Other people were running toward the shore. Sarah's feet touched bottom. She stumbled forward. She fell onto the sand. Emma was in her arms, coughing and crying, and Buddy was beside them, also coughing, also exhausted, but alive. Michael reached them first. He grabbed Emma. He grabbed Sarah. He was crying. He was shaking. He was terrified. The lifeguard reached them. The lifeguard checked on Emma. The lifeguard checked on Sarah. The lifeguard called for medical assistance. An ambulance arrived. Emma was checked over. Emma had swallowed some water. Emma was traumatized, but Emma was alive. Sarah was alive. And Buddy was alive. As the paramedics were checking on Emma, Buddy lay on the sand, exhausted. The puppy's eyes were closed. The puppy's breathing was heavy. The puppy had given everything to help. The puppy had used every bit of strength to save Emma's life. Sarah reached over and touched Buddy's head. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, Buddy." The puppy opened one eye. The puppy's tail wagged weakly. And in that moment, Sarah understood something. She understood that Buddy wasn't just a puppy. Buddy was a hero. Buddy was exactly what their family needed. Buddy was exactly what Emma needed. Emma was taken to the hospital for observation. The doctors wanted to make sure there was no water in her lungs. They wanted to make sure she hadn't suffered any damage from the near drowning. Sarah sat in the hospital room with Emma. Michael sat in the waiting room with Jake and Sophie. And Buddy was at home, being watched by a neighbor. Emma was scared. Emma kept asking for Buddy. "Where's Buddy?" Emma asked over and over. "Is Buddy okay? Can Buddy come here?" Sarah tried to comfort her daughter, but Sarah knew that Emma needed more than comfort. Emma needed Buddy. Emma needed the presence of the puppy who had saved her life. The doctors ran tests. They did x-rays. They checked Emma's lungs. And after several hours, they gave the all clear. Emma was going to be fine. There was no water in her lungs. There was no permanent damage. Emma was going to recover. But the psychological impact was different. Emma was traumatized. Emma had experienced something terrifying. Emma had been pulled under the water. Emma had thought she was going to die. "Can we go home?" Emma asked. "Can we go home and see Buddy?" "Soon," Sarah said. "The doctors want to keep you for observation for a few more hours, but then we can go home." That evening, the Mitchell family went home, and the first thing Emma did was run to Buddy. The puppy was waiting at the door. Buddy had been anxious all day. The neighbor had said that Buddy had paced back and forth. Buddy had whimpered. Buddy had known that something was wrong. When Emma appeared, Buddy's entire body wagged. The puppy jumped up and down. The puppy licked Emma's face. The puppy refused to leave Emma's side. That night, Emma slept with Buddy. The puppy lay on the bed next to Emma. Buddy didn't move all night. Buddy just lay there, keeping watch, keeping guard, making sure that Emma was safe. Over the next few days, the Mitchell family began to understand what had happened. They began to process the near tragedy. They began to realize how close they had come to losing Emma. Sarah couldn't stop thinking about it. If Michael hadn't been watching, if Michael hadn't seen what was happening, if Michael hadn't unclipped Buddy's leash, if Buddy hadn't known how to swim, if Buddy hadn't had the instinct to help, Emma would have drowned. Michael felt the same way. He kept replaying the moment in his mind. He kept thinking about what could have happened. He kept thinking about how a 6-month-old puppy had saved his daughter's life. Sophie and Jake were processing it too. They understood that their sister had almost died. They understood that Buddy had saved her. They understood that their family was lucky. But Emma understood something different. Emma understood that Buddy loved her. Emma understood that Buddy would do anything for her. Emma understood that she and Buddy had a connection that went beyond normal pet and owner. Emma understood that Buddy was her guardian, her protector, her hero. The local news got wind of the story. A reporter called the house. "We heard that a puppy saved your daughter's life," the reporter said. "We'd like to do a story about it." Sarah was hesitant. She didn't want to exploit what had happened. She didn't want to turn Emma's trauma into entertainment. But Michael convinced her. "This is a story worth telling," he said. "This is a story about a rescue dog doing what rescue dogs do. This is a story that might inspire other people to adopt rescue dogs. This is a story that might save other lives." So they agreed to do the interview. The news crew came to their house. They filmed Emma playing with Buddy. They filmed the beach where it had happened. They interviewed Sarah and Michael about the experience. Buddy was untrained, Sarah said in the interview. Buddy was hyperactive. Buddy was a handful. But Buddy had something that training can't teach. Buddy had heart. Buddy had intuition. Buddy had the instinct to help when someone needed help. The story aired that evening. It was on the local news. It was shared on social media. It went viral. Within hours, thousands of people had seen the story. Within days, tens of thousands of people had shared it. The comments poured in. People talked about their own rescue dogs. People talked about how animals had saved their lives. People talked about the importance of adopting from shelters. People talked about how Buddy was a hero. The viral story changed everything. Suddenly, Buddy wasn't just a family pet. Buddy was famous. Buddy was a hero. Buddy was a symbol of the incredible things that rescue dogs could do. Offers started coming in. A dog food company wanted to sponsor Buddy. A pet supply store wanted to feature Buddy in their advertising. A documentary filmmaker wanted to make a film about Buddy's story. But then, something unexpected happened. Something that would change Buddy's life forever. A woman named Dr. Patricia Chin reached out to the family. Dr. Chin was a researcher at a nearby university. Dr. Chin studied animal behavior. Dr. Chin had seen the story about Buddy, and Dr. Chin had a theory. "I believe your puppy has exceptional instincts," Dr. Chin said when she called. "I believe Buddy has the kind of intuition that could be trained and developed. I believe Buddy could become a service dog. I believe Buddy could be trained to detect danger and alert people to potential threats." Michael was skeptical. "Buddy's just a puppy. Buddy just did what came naturally." "Exactly," Dr. Chin said. "That's what makes this so remarkable. Buddy didn't have training. Buddy didn't have experience. Buddy just had instinct. And that instinct is exactly what we need in service dogs." Dr. Chin explained her research. She explained how she was developing a new program to train rescue dogs as service animals. She explained how most service dog training focused on teaching specific behaviors, but she believed that the most important thing was to find dogs with natural instinct. Dogs like Buddy. "I'd like to work with Buddy," Dr. Chin said. "I'd like to see if we can develop his natural abilities. I'd like to see if Buddy could help other people the way he helped Emma." Sarah and Michael discussed it. They talked about what it would mean. They talked about whether they wanted to let Buddy go. They talked about whether Buddy could help other people. And then they asked Emma, "What do you think, Emma? Do you want Buddy to help other people?" Emma thought about it. Emma looked at Buddy. Emma understood that Buddy had a gift. Emma understood that Buddy could help people. Emma understood that sometimes the people we love have to do big things. "Yes," Emma said, "Buddy should help people." So the Mitchell family made a decision. They would allow Dr. Chin to work with Buddy, but they had one condition. They wanted to stay involved. They wanted to be part of Buddy's journey. They wanted to see what Buddy could become. Buddy's training began the next week. Dr. Chin had a facility at the university. It was a state-of-the-art training center designed specifically for service dogs. But Buddy's training was different from traditional service dog training. Instead of teaching Buddy specific behaviors, Dr. Chin focused on developing Buddy's natural instincts. Dr. Chin worked on enhancing Buddy's ability to read people. Dr. Chin worked on strengthening Buddy's protective instincts. Dr. Chin worked on channeling Buddy's hyperactivity into purposeful action. The Mitchell family visited regularly. They watched as Buddy learned. They watched as the puppy grew. They watched as Buddy became something more than a pet. Buddy became a working dog. Buddy became a service animal. One of the first things Dr. Chin taught Buddy was how to detect anxiety in people. She worked with volunteers who had anxiety disorders. She taught Buddy to recognize the physical signs of anxiety, the increased heart rate, the shallow breathing, the muscle tension, and Buddy learned quickly. The puppy seemed to understand instinctively what Dr. Chin was teaching. Buddy could detect anxiety before the person even realized they were anxious. Buddy could alert the person. Buddy could help them calm down. "This is remarkable," Dr. Chin said to Sarah and Michael during one of their visits. "I've trained dozens of service dogs. I've never seen a dog learn this quickly. I've never seen a dog with this level of intuition." Next, Dr. Chin worked on teaching Buddy to detect danger. She set up scenarios where Buddy had to identify potential threats. A person with a weapon, a person with harmful intentions, a person with aggressive energy. And again, Buddy learned. The puppy could sense danger. The puppy could alert people to threats. The puppy could position himself protectively between a person and danger. "Buddy has a gift," Dr. Chin said. "Buddy can sense things that most dogs can't sense. Buddy can help people in ways that most service dogs can't help." But the most remarkable thing happened when Dr. Chin worked with children who had experienced trauma. Children who had been through accidents. Children who had been through abuse. Children who had been through things that no child should experience. Buddy seemed to understand these children on a deep level. Buddy could sense their pain. Buddy could sense their fear. And Buddy could help them heal. One child in particular stood out. A 10-year-old boy named Marcus, who had nearly drowned 2 years earlier. Marcus had been traumatized by the experience. Marcus had developed a phobia of water. Marcus couldn't even take a bath without panicking. Dr. Chin brought Buddy to work with Marcus, and something magical happened. Marcus was terrified at first. first. But Buddy approached the boy slowly. Buddy didn't push. Buddy just sat with Marcus. Buddy put his head on Marcus's lap, and slowly, Marcus began to calm down. Over the course of several weeks, Buddy helped Marcus overcome his phobia. Buddy helped Marcus get back in the water. Buddy helped Marcus heal from his trauma. "What you're doing with Buddy is incredible," Sarah said to Dr. Chen. "Buddy is changing lives." "Buddy is doing what Buddy was born to do," Dr. Chen said. "Buddy is using his gifts to help people. That's what heroes do." After 6 months of training, Buddy was officially certified as a service dog. It was a ceremony at the university. There were reporters, there were other trainers, there were people whose lives Buddy had touched. Emma was there. Emma watched as Buddy received his certification. Emma watched as her puppy became an official service dog. Emma was proud. Emma was happy. Emma understood that Buddy had become something special. Dr. Chen gave a speech. "Buddy came to us as an untrained, hyperactive puppy," Dr. Chen said. "Buddy came to us with no formal training, but Buddy came to us with something more important. Buddy came to us with heart. Buddy came to us with intuition. Buddy came to us with the ability to sense what people needed and to provide it. Buddy is proof that rescue dogs are not broken. Rescue dogs are not damaged goods. Rescue dogs are incredible animals with incredible gifts. All they need is the opportunity to show what they can do." The crowd applauded. Buddy wagged his tail. The puppy seemed to understand that something important was happening. After the ceremony, people lined up to meet Buddy. They wanted to thank the dog. They wanted to tell Buddy their stories. They wanted to share how Buddy had helped them. One woman came up to Sarah with tears in her eyes. "Buddy helped my daughter," the woman said. "My daughter had severe anxiety. Buddy helped her. Buddy gave her confidence. Buddy changed her life." Another man came up. "I have PTSD from my time in the military," he said. "Buddy helps me. Buddy knows when I'm having a flashback. Buddy helps me come back to reality. Buddy saved my life." Story after story, person after person, all of them touched by Buddy, all of them helped by the puppy who had once been considered unadoptable. But the most important moment came when Emma and Buddy were reunited after the training period. The Mitchell family had visited regularly, but they hadn't had Buddy full time. Now, Buddy was coming home. Emma ran to Buddy. She threw her arms around the dog. Buddy licked her face. The puppy's tail wagged so hard that his entire body shook. "Buddy's a hero," Emma said. "Buddy saved my life. And now Buddy is helping other people too." Sarah watched her daughter and her dog. She felt tears in her eyes. She felt grateful. She felt amazed. She felt like her family had been part of something bigger than themselves. That night, Emma asked to hear the story again. The story of how Buddy had saved her at the beach. Sarah told the story. She told it the way it had happened. She told it with all the emotion and all the fear and all the joy. "And then what happened?" Emma asked, even though she knew the answer. "And then Buddy became a hero," Sarah said. "Buddy became a service dog. Buddy started helping other people. And Buddy is still your best friend. Buddy will always be my best friend," Emma said, "because Buddy saved my life." 1 year after that day at the beach, the Mitchell family received an invitation. It was from Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen wanted to do a documentary about Buddy. Dr. Chen wanted to tell Buddy's story to the world. The documentary was called Buddy, From Rescue to Hero. It told the story of how an untrained, hyperactive puppy had saved a life. It told the story of how that puppy had become a service dog. It told the story of how Buddy had helped countless people. The documentary premiered at a film festival. It was shown to audiences. It was praised by critics. It was shared on social media. It went viral. And suddenly, Buddy's story reached millions of people around the world. People who had never heard of the Mitchell family. People who had never heard of Dr. Chen. People who had never heard of rescue dogs. All of them heard about Buddy. The response was overwhelming. Shelters around the country reported increased adoption rates. People wanted to adopt rescue dogs. People wanted to give rescue dogs a chance. People wanted to find their own Buddy. Buddy changed everything, Dr. Chen said in an interview. Buddy showed the world what rescue dogs can do. Buddy showed the world that the dogs that people don't want are often the dogs with the most to give. The Mitchell family received letters from people all over the world. Letters from people whose lives had been touched by Buddy's story. Letters from people who had adopted rescue dogs because of Buddy. Letters from people who had found hope because of Buddy. Emma read some of the letters. Emma understood that her puppy had done something important. Emma understood that Buddy had helped people she would never meet. Emma understood that Buddy's story mattered. Dr. Chen's program expanded. Because of Buddy's success, Dr. Chen received funding to train more rescue dogs as service animals. Dr. Chen was able to hire more trainers. Dr. Chen was able to help more people. The program became known as the Buddy Program. It was dedicated to finding rescue dogs with exceptional instincts and training them to become service animals. It was dedicated to giving rescue dogs a second chance. It was dedicated to changing lives. Within 2 years, the Buddy Program had trained 50 rescue dogs as service animals. 50 dogs that had been in shelters. 50 dogs that might have been euthanized. 50 dogs that were now helping people. Each dog had a story like Buddy's. Each dog had been overlooked. Each dog had been underestimated. Each dog had turned out to be extraordinary. This all started with one puppy, Dr. Chin said. One untrained, hyperactive puppy who had the instinct to help. Buddy showed us that we were looking for service dogs in the wrong places. We were looking for dogs with training. But what we really needed were dogs with heart, dogs with intuition, dogs with the natural ability to sense what people needed. The program expanded to other universities. Other trainers started using the same methods. Other rescue dogs started becoming service animals. The movement that started with Buddy spread across the country. 5 years after that day at the beach, Emma and Buddy were still together. Emma was now 10 years old. Buddy was now 6 years old. They had grown up together. Emma and Buddy visited schools. They told the story of what had happened. They talked about rescue dogs. They talked about second chances. They talked about how anyone could be a hero. The children at the schools loved Buddy. The children wanted to know everything about the puppy who had saved a life. The children wanted to know how they could help rescue dogs. And Emma told them. Emma told them about Marcus at the shelter. Emma told them about how Buddy had been considered unadoptable. Emma told them about how Buddy had turned out to be a hero. Buddy wasn't special because of training, Emma would say. Buddy was special because of heart. Buddy had the heart to help. Buddy had the instinct to do the right thing. And that's what made Buddy a hero. One day, Emma and Buddy visited a shelter. It was the same shelter where Buddy had been. Marcus was still there. The old volunteer was still working at the shelter. Marcus was in his 70s now, but he was still helping rescue dogs find homes. When Marcus saw Buddy, he cried. "I knew it," Marcus said. "I knew from the moment I saw Buddy that this puppy was special. I knew that Buddy had something different. I knew that Buddy would do great things. Buddy did great things because you believed in him," Emma said. "You saw something in Buddy that other people didn't see. You believed in Buddy when other people didn't." Marcus hugged Emma. Marcus hugged Buddy. And in that moment, the circle was complete. The circle that had started in a shelter 5 years earlier. The circle that had included a family, a beach, a near tragedy, a rescue, a training program, and countless lives changed. This is the story of Buddy, an untrained, hyperactive puppy who became a hero. A rescue dog who changed lives. A dog who proved that heroism doesn't come from training. Heroism comes from the heart. Emma is now a teenager. She wants to become a veterinarian. She wants to help animals. She wants to continue the work that Buddy started. Buddy is now a senior dog. Buddy is retired from active service, but Buddy still helps people. Buddy still visits schools. Buddy still tells his story. And somewhere in a shelter, another untrained, hyperactive puppy is waiting. Another puppy that people might overlook. Another puppy that might be considered unadoptable. Another puppy that might be a hero. Because that's what Buddy taught us. That's what this story teaches us. That heroes come in unexpected packages. That second chances matter. That sometimes the dog we need isn't the dog we planned for. Sometimes it's the untrained, hyperactive puppy who saves our lives. This is Buddy's story, and it's a story that will be told for generations to come.